If you've been struggling with depression, anxiety, you're overweight, you've been eating to comfort yourself, and you've accumulated body fat, you've accumulated stress, you feel trapped, you feel pressure, you're stuck, you're overwhelmed, you're triggered, and you're just not feeling that great about yourself, check out this video. I'm gonna talk about how I lost 30 pounds at 40 years old, got in the best shape of my life, and how I did that. And it's not the training and the macros, although it was the training and the macros. It's a mindset shift. Here's the mindset shift that I used to get me out of the slump and that you can use to help you get out of your slump. I was just at the gym with a buddy. He's fighting with his girl. And when it comes down to it, he thinks he's a piece of crap. He's a millionaire, and he has to keep himself busy because ultimately he thinks that he's a piece of crap. He's not, but he's built up this story to tell himself, and he believes it. And that's what's keeping him stuck. Now, what we're talking about is limiting beliefs. And maybe you have a story that just isn't true. We've all done bad things. We all have a history. Not everyone, but a lot of people. Maybe you stole something when you were a kid. Maybe you went to jail. I got in trouble when I was 19 and went to jail. I did all sorts of stuff. I've done great things. I've California state record powerlifting, bodybuilding, natural bodybuilding, got my degree in biology and chemistry, all these things. You can do all these accomplishments, but if you perceive yourself as a bad person or flawed, they even talk about this in the Bible, you're renewed, right? You become renewed, a new spirit. You can see through new eyes. This is all they're talking about. This is the same exact stuff. You're in a framework of how you perceive yourself, and it's just not true. So when people get saved, they take on a whole new identity. I'm not gonna preach religion, I'm not even religious, but this is accurate with spirituality and psychology. Now, how does this apply to losing weight, feeling better about yourself? If you realize that you're not a bad person, that you've made maybe some mistakes or what you perceive to be bad, and you understand that you did exactly what you're supposed to do at the time, the best that you could do, and then as soon as you let that go and forgive yourself and forgive others because they were doing the best that they could, you're free, baby. You're gone. You're free. You can just live your life without that guilt and shame. What does that mean? You don't have to binge eat to make yourself feel better. You don't have to drink alcohol. You don't have to do drugs. You don't have to use porn and sex addiction to soothe yourself because you feel broken. You're not broken. You feel broken, but your spirit isn't broken. It's always been there. But the way you talk to yourself is broken. And when you talk to yourself bad and abuse yourself, because you didn't have love, you don't know how to love yourself. You abuse yourself with your thoughts and you listen to it, you buy into it. Then, how do you think you act towards other people if you have crap thoughts? You're gonna bring yourself in a lower energy state. People are gonna vibe to that lower energy state. If you're vibing high and you're clean inside and you know you're not a piece of crap, you're actually a good person that's lived life and had to do the best they could with limited resources and limited perspectives. Imagine you do stuff when you're a kid, 18, 19, 20, 10, 11, 12 years old. You're just a dumb kid. Everyone's a dumb kid. Everyone makes mistakes. Forgive yourself, forgive your parents. Then you can go on because you're clean inside. You don't have guilt and shame. And then you're not trying to manipulate everyone and everything because you're angry at yourself. And you've relieved some of that anger. You don't have to abuse drugs and alcohol anymore. You don't have to beat yourself over the head anymore. So you can't build a mansion. Let's say you're trying to run a big business or trying to get a six pack or trying to get a girl. You can't build a 20,000 square foot mansion on top of a 2,000 square foot lot. So the 20,000 square foot mansion is like the dream ideal version of yourself. And then the 2,000 square foot lot is your current subconscious framework, mental, the way you see things and perceive things. See, nobody told me this, that the way I think is my responsibility, and you can change the way you think. If you don't like something, you can just say, well, it might be better if I do like that, because When I don't like things, that doesn't feel good inside. So how about I just start liking things, and instead of don't like, hey, I don't like the way that person looked at me. Well, how about we say this instead? Instead of holding a grudge, that person didn't look at me the right way that I wanted them to. How about you say, you know what? I have no idea that person's family history, their genetic makeup, where they came from, what they've done. Maybe someone just cut them off in the parking lot, and when they came in, they snubbed me because they're in a bad mood. It's not because you take it personal. You think that the way people treat you is personal. It's not personal at all. Nothing's personal. You have your baggage and your mental framework and your family history and your genetics and their families, the way they raised everybody, and that's the way they act, think, feel. And then you take that as attack on your ego takes that as an attack on, it's not an attack on you. It's the way your girlfriend was brought up, your wife, your husband. It's the way that person, the culture they were born in. None of it's personal. So you can just forgive everybody. Even if they've done something horrible. If you were raised up in those same scenarios and had the same thing and the same genetic disposition and everything else, you would have done the same stupid mistake. Because you're not God. You can't be judging everyone else. If you want to judge everyone, then you can play God, and then you're going to suffer. Because when you judge, you are saying, I know what's best and I know what's right. And I understand the unlimited possibilities and potentialities throughout the universe. And I think it should be this way because I know best. That's called arrogance and naivete. It's not wisdom. So if you think you know, you don't. You don't even listen to your own thoughts. Those are not going to help you out. So how do you lose weight? How do you get a six pack? How do you raise your vibe? You got to realize that all the subconscious programming is probably whack. It's built off of you got abused when you're a kid. You went through trauma. You've got some depression, anxiety because you're still hanging on to stuff. You haven't forgiven yourself. You haven't forgiven other people. Now that makes you afraid of the future, so you get anxiety. And then you're holding on to all this garbage from the past. So if you've got depression from the past, you're holding on to. You haven't forgiven yourself because you're actually a good person, but you think you're not. And then you're afraid of the future because you're stressed out. If your girl's going to leave you, she's going to cheat. If these people are going to screw you in business, or what if I don't get the job? What if the girl leaves? Whatever, right? It's usually relationships and job. And relationships, you're always just worried about, did I pick the right one? I could have gotten better. I could have done better. Or if you get one you really like, are they going to leave? You know? It just goes on and never stops. Don't listen to any of it. You have to realize your perception of yourself is it's so crazy. So you're using this old framework from you're like 12, where you're like insecure and you've got all this guilt and shame from stuff that you grew up with and you didn't fit in, maybe you didn't come from a rich family, everybody else had more than you and you were insecure and all this stuff. You're carrying that around. You gotta let it all go, man. All of it. And then say, okay, let's get biblical. I'm not even biblical. I don't know why I keep using this, but these are just references from, I guess, childhood and stuff. But it's like, if it's true that we're renewed in a new spirit, and then you're a 10 out of 10, man. You're a 10 out of 10, baby. It's not arrogance. It just means you're clean. You've been forgiven. You're free, baby. So honor that, do the right thing, and present yourself as free and think free. Get into that vibe of love. Get rid of the shame and guilt. Then, if you're a 10 out of 10, how do you think you're going to show up? You're going to show up like a 10 out of 10. How do you think, if you don't take things personal, because you're not so beating yourself up that you think other people are trying to hurt you constantly, and then you might be open to new possibilities and potentialities in your life, in your world. And then, if you're a 10 out of 10, and that's your thought patterns, and you're raising your vibe, and you got rid of that guilt and shame, you forgive people and you don't judge people anymore, and you don't judge yourself and you're forgiving yourself, then you're going to act in different ways. Things are going to be drawn into you. You're going to attract things. You get it? So how I got a six pack at 40 years old, I just used the mental power and realized that if I do the macros with a coach, I'll lose the weight. And then all of a sudden you future jump. but it brings it back into the present moment. So if you're fat currently now and depressed, you do realize that there's nothing inside of you called depressed. If they were to cut you open, there's nothing inside called depressed. And you're just, it's thought patterns, and you've been stuck, and you can jump into a new persona, and it takes a lot of bravery. But so what I did is I thought to myself, I had this big struggle about getting a six pack, and I decided if I hire a coach and I do exactly what he says, then I'll get a six pack. You realize that, right? Like, it's 100% true. You can lose weight. If you do the thing, you will get the result. It's physics. It's as true as anything else is true in the world. It's as true as, it's a lie if people say they can't lose weight. It's a complete lie. It's a complete lie. You can lose weight. You can get muscles. You can get money. You can get a girl. But why do you want all that stuff? Do it from a place of love, not out of a place of lack. Fill your cup up first. Forgive yourself. Forgive your mom and dad. Don't judge others because they're doing the best, just like you were doing the best when you were coming up. And then you're free. And then your desires and the things you're running away from will be cleaner. The motive behind it, the intent. Another way to forgive yourself is to say, is my intention good? Okay, then you're forgiven. Like, just go have the best intention in your life. You're doing the best you can. Quit giving yourself such a hard time. That's it. And then realize that you can jump into this persona mentally by saying, I'm the best coach in the world. I'm going to be the best coach. I'm going to share what I have to share. And I'm going to share my personal experiences, life experiences from my clients. And then if it helps people, it helps people, because that's the intention, is to help people. That's my only intention, is to help you guys. So if you have any questions, post them below with any questions that you might have. One-on-one coaching is available, link below. And just realize that if you want to reach your goals, you have to jump in that persona. You're not going to be able to reach your goals with your current mental framework because you think you're broken and this, that, and the other. And that's kind of the reason why you're trying to do it, is to make yourself feel better. But you have to jump into a future persona, which is like, if I do this, I will be that. Like, if I do the diet one day, that's almost the same as me being the bodybuilder that's on stage. Because all you do is you just repeat that current mental framework and that action, and then you're the thing. So if you need help jumping into your future self, business-wise, relationship-wise, click the link. I'd love to help you out. Catch you in the next video.